What's going on, guys? Zach from iTrendz here, bringing you a live trade recap of our trade on AMD today. Very, very nice trade, very simple 40% banger. Or if you held on to the trade, it was more like a 220% banger, but it was or a 120% banger, excuse me. It was very, very easy trade, like I'm saying. So let's get into it. Quick and simple. I want to do this nice and simple for you guys. Also, thank you for everybody new that's watching here. This is iTrendz. If you've never been to the channel, we're going to talk about a few things that we've actually made videos on, like the VWAP today. Feel free to check those videos out. They'll be linked in the description below. So let's get into it. So this is NASDAQ on the left side of my chart here. If you're a trader, you know NASDAQ and QQQ, the same thing. I just track NASDAQ futures, so we're going to be talking about NASDAQ here, but this is also could work on QQQ, your confluence. And we're going to talk about AMD, right? That's the trade that we took today. So that's going to be in the right side of the of TOS here. So if we look at AMD, this is on the hourly, 90-day hourly time frame here. We can see that we have this nice impulse move up from this what was just a quick little demand zone that we created. Nice impulse move up, and we had a consolidation phase for a couple of days. This is today's, right? This is today's price action. So we had 2 days of consolidation after this nice impulse move up. That consolidation then forms 2 things, right? Hopefully you just guessed it, or forms another demand zone and another supply zone. So as you can see here, there's a demand zone at the support that we've identified. Okay, if we're going to break that demand zone, we just had an impulsive move up. You break the demand zone over here, you're going to have an impulsive move down. That's how that works. We can go into that at a later date in a different video if you're interested. Just leave it down in the comment section below, please. Comment impulsive moves or video on impulsive moves. So, right. Now we know the demand zone and the supply zone, which is overhead. It was actually above here. Not interested in the supply zone here. As we break the demand zone, we're expecting a large move to the downside. So now let's take a look at NASDAQ over here on the left. This is the opening candle at 9:30 a.m. Eastern when the New York Stock Exchange opens. This is that big, nice candle, green candle to the upside here. That's really good to see for anybody that's bullish on tech. However, we were looking to the downside on AMD. I can show you my planned plays in a second here. So as we can see, NASDAQ's kind of rounding off, right? 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes into the open, NASDAQ is rounding off, coming back down to VWAP. Now, VWAP is the volume weighted average price. If you don't know what that is, we actually have a video, a couple strategies that you can follow in the channel. We'll link that in the description below. Feel free to check it out. But generally speaking, as a good rule of thumb, a stock that is trading above the VWAP is said to be strong and trading to the upside. And a stock that is trending below the VWAP is said to be weak or trending to the downside, right? So with that in mind, now we know, okay, NASDAQ opened up, pushed above VWAP here, and is now coming back down to retest VWAP. So as NASDAQ comes and retests VWAP, it's going to do one of 2 things. It's either going to bounce and continue its trend up and stay above VWAP, or it's going to break down through VWAP and start trending down. So with that in mind, let's move over to AMD over here. Let's drop a time frame down to the 5-minute. Personally, that's when I enter, or excuse me, where I enter all my positions is on a 5-minute time frame. So as you can see, this is our demand zone that we created. After this big impulsive move, we had a bounce off support here, bounce off support here, bounce off support here. So if you haven't figured this out yet, support and demand, they're the same idea, same concept. Demand is just a little bit different. If you want to look into it, we can do a video on that as well. We've done a video for the premium members inside of our Discord community, but we can absolutely make one for everybody as well. So as you can see down here, we just can't seem to break it. We actually formed a little bit lower of a low here. So we want to pay attention to that. That's why there's a box. I have a box outlined here, right? Because after you break this big demand zone, you're going to have just a little bit of support, a little bit of buyers coming back into the market here at around this 85.20 zone. So you want to be aware of that. But overall, this 85.86 has been a very big support for us, key support that we couldn't break below throughout the past 2 days. So we're going to pay attention to that, right? So if we go over into Discord here, I'm going to show you that these planned plays planned out, try and say that 10 times wrong, planned plays planned out in the morning. So as you can see here at 8:35 in the morning, 8:37 in the morning, I was looking at a few stocks. I'm looking at Apple, I'm looking at Affirm, I'm looking at AMD, I'm looking at Amazon, right? So those are some stocks that I look at pretty much every day of the week. Amazon and AMD, I almost trade every single day of the week. Those are like my 2 favorite stocks to trade, period. I've traded AMD, man, for a lot of time, pretty much every day for the past like 6 months. So anyway, as you can see, if you were to read this, pause it, read it, my bias is more sell side than it is buy side. So I'm going to be looking to sell supply and short underneath demand. essentially is what I'm looking for here, right? So let's go back to the charts here. All right, as you can see in AMD underneath 85, 83, looking for a hard break, looking for a very hard break underneath that demand zone. Let's move it back to TOS here. Sorry, I'm trying to go fast, trying to make it quick for you guys. So underneath 85, 86, right? Big hard break. We're looking for a hard break. The reason why we're looking for a hard break is because this is a tried and true support up until this day, right? And so if NASDAQ is going to come back down to 12,000, which is also a very large support, right? It's 12,000 psychologically. It's got 3 zeros in it. Big support or resistance as you're approaching those levels, just like 100, right? Or 50, etc., right? 12,000 on NASDAQ, big support level. So we're trying to gauge whether the sellers are going to actually have enough power to bring it below 12,000, bring us down to our next demand zone at 11.7, or if they're going to keep us above 12,000. So I need a hard break on AMD. So as you can see, right, we can go back to NASDAQ pushing up here and then rounding off. You don't really see as much of that on AMD here if you zoom in a little bit, right? You have a nice push up on the first green candle, and an immediate retracement back down, comes back down, touches that 85.20. That's key right there, that 85.20 touch in the morning. Big push back up and then immediate round back off. So at this point, you're watching NASDAQ, you're looking at QQQ, and then you're looking at AMD, and you're looking at some other stocks, and maybe Apple's up here, AMD's right here, and QQQ's right here. So from that, you can derive that AMD's weaker than the rest of tech, right? Let's just compare the rest of tech to just the Apple example that I used there, right? So NASDAQ is pushing up, say that it pushed up 2%. AMD only pushed up a percentage, right? Just 1%. So there's weakness there. So that means that as NASDAQ is rounding down, as it's starting its reversal coming down on the day, AMD is going to experience more selling pressure because it was already weak to begin with. So that's really important, right? So we're looking for this hard break at 85, 86. A couple candles in, we have this really big candle, big breakdown below 85, 86, almost all the way back down to 85.20. So I actually took my position here on this first red candle. But what gave me the confluence to enter this was NASDAQ at VWAP. So NASDAQ was at VWAP, breaking VWAP as I was entering my trade underneath my take below level on AMD. So let me just rewind a second, right? My confluence is that NASDAQ is breaking VWAP. We discussed VWAP earlier, right? A stock that's trending underneath VWAP is generally regarded as weaker, right? So it should continue to trend down. So now that NASDAQ is broke to the downside of VWAP, I'm expecting it to trend down to, where's our next level of support? 12,000. There's a good amount of room in here, about 100 points, where I can capture a nice move on AMD, which is already weak. It already broke my 85, 86 support level that I'm looking for it to break really hard. It already did that with ease. So as I entered on this candle, we had a simple break, the next candle of this 85.20, which means that we have a free ride. We essentially have a free ride down to this lower demand zone at 83, just call it 83.50. So we have a free ride down there. So that's where you're looking to take profits on the way down to 83. So as we approach 12K on NASDAQ, 12,000, I took my first take profit at $1.75 from $1.50. We took our entry at $1.50. I took $1.75. It was about this area where I took that $1.75 exit. Then as we were breaking, we had a really hard break. Look at NASDAQ, big break of 12K right there. Really wasn't expecting that too much. I held onto my contracts. I think I sold at $2 was the next sell for another quarter of my position at $2 from 150. And that was a really easy ride. As you had this kind of, this price action, is up and down price action, it actually kind of brought the contracts back down to 1.8, brought it back up to 2.0, went up to 2.15 where I took a couple contracts off. I didn't alert that I took one. I literally only took 2 contracts off, but I didn't alert anything like that. I alerted my last exit at 2.05, which was somewhere in this area here where I exited my last contract at 2.05. Now, as you can see, this move went much further below our lower demand zone, this 83 to 83.5 here, went all the way down, and the contracts actually ended up netting. You could, if you were in the whole time, if you held on, it actually went to $4.16. I know somebody saw that. I didn't see that. I was very happy with my trade. So I was okay taking 40%. I also didn't expect us to fall like this on the day after the 12K break, excuse me. I had expected us to come back down to 12,000 and potentially only come to 11.9, not 11.7. So had I held on to my runners, I would have seriously seen some extreme profit, but I'm okay with 40 to 45% of my trades. Very, very simple trade. Again, Confluence was breaking NASDAQ VWAP, suggesting that NASDAQ is going to continue to trade lower down towards our lower support of 12,000. AMD at that point in time was weaker, already broke our level of support that we were looking for, and then broke our secondary level of support, which then renders it down to our next support. So with that being said, this is the AMD trade. Oh, also want to show you the profits too. Nice little easy $620 on the day. And I think it was like an hour and a half of trading, if that. Let's see, where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Yeah, an hour and a half of trading, 1027. So very, very good day on the day. A very simple trade from AMD. Like I said, I trade AMD almost every single day. These types of moves happen multiple times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, if that. Maybe even sometimes more if they were having an insane week in the market. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this trade recap. This is the first one that we've released to the public. We've released a bunch to our premium members over in Discord. The link to that will be in the description. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and please, it really, really helps us out if you shoot us to subscribe. It's free. I know everybody says it's free. It really does help us out. We're a very small channel. We don't post as much content. We're trying to slowly ramp up more and more content here. And of course, a like is very much so appreciated. So anyway, with that being said, I hope to see you guys around more, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.